Hello again. In the 1930s, some very influential Americans and Germans, anthropologists like Franz Boas and Ruth Benedict, devised a theory that all differences between members of different human races were the result of upbringing and culture and nothing else. This was in direct opposition to the views of most Americans and Europeans at that time, who felt instinctively that there were real and measurable differences between black Africans, white Europeans, and Chinese people. Ruth Benedict wrote two hugely influential books, to which I give details in the description to this video, in which she outlined this theory. In one of these, Patterns of Culture, she wrote in 1934 that an Oriental child adopted by an Occidental family learns English, shows towards its foster parents the attitudes current among the children it plays with, and grows up to the same professions that they elect. He learns the entire set of cultural traits of the adopted society, and the set of his real parents' group plays no part. Here then is indeed a magnificent piece of bare assertion, for Benedict gives no references or evidence to back up what she is claiming. We take it, or not, on trust. Now, she may have been sound enough when writing about the Indians of America's Pacific coast, into whose lives she had conducted a good deal of field research, but the passage above is an expression of ideology rather than scientific investigation. Nevertheless, there is something quite alluring about the idea that all humans are born as blank slates, which cultural trends and family life may write upon as they wish. This view is today the orthodox one relating to race, although I'm bound to say there is not a shred of scientific evidence to support the idea, however widespread it might be. When we delve into the subject and see what has actually been discovered, this becomes startlingly clear. In fact, we know today that Ruth Benedict's idea about what she described as Oriental children being adopted by Occidental families is complete nonsense. Various studies have been conducted into this very thing, and all have found that babies of East Asian ancestry, whom Benedict describes as Oriental children, grow up very differently when adopted from those of other races. In short, the actual science and research does not support the idea that races are irrelevant in a child's development and that culture and upbringing are everything. One study, to which I give a link in the description to this video, involved 5,942 adopted children in Sweden, half of them from East Asia and the rest from various other parts of the world, and showed a picture very different from the one which Ruth Benedict presents us. We read in this study that there were considerable differences between adoptees from different geographical regions, with better outcomes in many respects for children from the Far East. What are these considerable differences? They relate to such disparate matters as those from East Asia being adopted into Swedish families being more likely to have university degrees than those adopted children of African or Latin American origin, more likely to be working, less likely to be admitted to hospital for psychiatric illness, and much less likely to be in receipt of welfare payments. To put the case bluntly, they were more successful than the other groups in ways which we traditionally associate with people of East Asian origin. Other studies have suggested the same trend. Of course, parents adopting children are seldom allowed to pick and choose based solely upon ethnicity. They can't go into an orphanage and say, well, I'd like a black one, or that they want a Chinese baby. The selection is made by social workers. So that's one variable which is random. Studies such as the one I spoke of tend all in the same direction, which is towards children of East Asian heritage growing up in Western families, showing the traditional character traits which we tend to associate with Chinese people and Koreans, that is to say, being industrious, self-reliant, and academic. It is difficult to see under such circumstances how upbringing could account for their following so closely to traditional stereotypes, and the most likely explanation is that these traits are inherent rather than being learned.